Hello, everyone, and welcome to another stream. Today, I'm joined by both of the founders of Mizuchi, and today, my co-host Smooth. First of all, Ted, Rudy, how are you guys doing today?
Great. Excited to be here, man. Thanks for
Yep,
setting us up.
Yeah,
yep,
man, doing awesome actually. Really excited to go over this white paper in a part two fashion, and thank you guys for having us and being on.
yep. No worries. Yeah. So, if anyone missed it, we did do a stream previously, run over the white paper, but since then, there's been some changes. So, do you guys kind of want to highlight what were the changes and why? How important were they to be made? Because obviously, I know you guys were quite far into development, so they had to be quite big changes. So, what was the kind of thought process, and why have you decided to postpone launch and make these changes?
Well, fortunately, we haven't had the postpone launch. We were able to do it like pretty in synchronicity with everything that we've been working on. But I had told Ted early on, I was like, if I think of a good way to like actually incorporate a reward structure into this project, like I know it's going to come at the most like inconvenient time ever. And which it did. I was driving one day and this idea of buy and reward popped into my head, and essentially using the buy and burn to fuel a rewards pool, right? With the NFTs, like it offers a really great way to offer almost like a liquid staking alternative, where users can just gain passive rewards. And what's nice about this, it's not based on a tax structure, but instead it's based on the buy pressure that comes in. And since the perpetual auctions are set up in such a way to like replenish themselves and constantly bring new X28 into the system, I was like, you know what, this is brilliant. Like we really just have to like move forward with this. And you guys know, like working on your projects, like sometimes those little changes turn into big changes. And in the case of this, like it was a little change, but it forced us to change some of the logic between like the NFT swap feature, where we changed it to a burn to claim feature and like a way to actually mint additional NFTs using Mizuchi after the first 8 days, which is actually really neat. And we'll go over this a little bit more, but it's really neat because what it does is it allows users the option to recompound their rewards into more NFTs to get a bigger share of the payout pool, slash also locks up a lot more supply that way. So that's been the whole goal from the beginning, is how can we put a protocol out there that locks supply in an efficient manner and encourages people to stay engaged through with their investment, and give them ways to actually increase their positions. So this seemed like a no-brainer to do. So we just kind of had to full stop and pivot, and we were in the middle of our first audits, and luckily the auditors are very awesome and were able to adjust to the changes really quickly. So yeah, man, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge because it before and the way the tokenomics were structured, it was super, super bullish in my opinion. But now you're rewarding holders even more, and it's already a capped supply. So if you have a bag of Mizuchi, your position is already growing. But now if you transform those tokens into an NFT, you're growing your position even more.
Yep.
So it's really rewarding the long-term believers. And if they are long-term believers, it means they're locking a lot of supply off market, which means there's even less liquid, which is going to be super interesting. Because before it was like people could sell out, but now there's always that incentive to kind of swap your Mizuchi tokens back into NFTs.
Yep.
So I think it's a huge change, but I think it's going to be add a lot of game theory and a lot to the project, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely going to elevate the game theory considerably, because when you look at the NFTs as a whole, you take one, and just by acquiring one, you've initiated the process. Boom, you're automatically just by default, boom, reward. And $7 to $10 can get you started.
Yep.
Boom, like that. And boom. And you can take that compound profit, buy your next NFT. That one's going to start compounding. Boom. Beautiful.
Yeah. It's a really cool approach that you can kind of, get in at the bottom, lower NFT, and then you can, if you're a long-term believer in the project, you can slowly work your way up and keep upgrading your NFTs. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of direction.
Yeah. Smooth, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I'm just listening and observing kind of what you guys are saying, but overall, I think it's a great little change, right? Little in quotes, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm just super bullish, and like you said, the first time I heard about Mizuchi, it sounded really good. So obviously, the longer you sit on these ideas, the more the game theory kind of develops and grows, and you always want to give the market as much of an opportunity to either make or break their own bags. And that's when the game theory really gets good over time. So I'm loving what I'm hearing. And, I'm kind of a fly on the wall for this. Obviously, I'm part of the conversation, but I'll be adding my questions and 2 cents in as time goes on for sure.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Yeah. So I thought we could start. If anyone kind of missed that original stream, or maybe anyone that's new who hasn't even heard what Mizuchi is, do you want to give a quick kind of elevator pitch of the very brief overview of what Mizuchi actually is?
Yeah, dude. So Mizuchi is a fair launch hybrid NFT protocol where the supply creation happens in the first 8 days, which is very short. And it allows everybody to get in an equal cost basis, which is unique to what we're doing. Essentially, when you participate in Mizuchi, you're going to be minting hybrid NFTs, and at the same time, it mints tokens to a vault called the Wormhole, and those NFTs become I'll use the term interswappable between the token and vice versa. So all the supply creation happens in the first 8 days, and then the supply is capped forever. And after the 8 days, perpetual auctions begin. So that will allow us to actually continually bring in more X28 into the system, which in turn burns more Titan X, and it goes and feeds the whole system. So our buy and burn, it's called the buy, burn, and fuel. It does a lot more than just buy and burn the token. What it does is it feeds the auctions, which in a very big way, and also rewards holders, also increases liquidity, which I think is a very important factor. So it's constantly just adding liquidity into the protocol. So it'll allow it to grow naturally over time. And obviously burning tokens, which I think is a core feature of any Titan X protocol, just that hyper deflationary factor. But with Mizuchi, a core focus is this idea of lock-in supply through the NFTs. So when the buy and burn is working, I call it true programmatic buy pressure, because we're not trying to soak up excess supply. What we're trying to do is actually increase the price floor with this massively locked supply. And in turn, as the price of Mizuchi theoretically goes up, the rewards that people are able to collect every 8 days will also grow with it. In turn, we're going to be burning supply. There's just so many ways to increase your position just by simply holding. Like, you really don't have to do anything, like Ted was saying. Like, just get an NFT and you're in.
Yep. And 8 days, that's the only time you can really enter before it becomes capped, which is super aggressive, but I think super bullish, because after that point, it's off to the races. We've already seen after Mike's project Matrix capped on day 28 is just started pumping, and I think Matrix is a good example of something similar to Mizuchi, because they have the patient incentive pool, which rewards a percentage of the buy and burn also, and we've seen how successful that has been over the last few days. It seems like people really, really love it. Mizuchi's that with these auctions that I think are going to have really, really good longevity, because we'll get into the details soon, but you guys have kind of created a way to make sure that there's always going to be fuel in the auctions, no matter what. And if people leave and exit, they're benefiting the people that are still waiting in the system. Because,
exactly.
Yeah. So should we get into the white paper just quickly? Obviously we have before, but what do you think are the key parts that we should kind of overview to give people a really good, thorough understanding of?
So I would say the key parts is like a limited 8-day supply creation phase, and after that, the token actually gets capped forever. There's initial seed funds that go to feed the initial perpetual auctions, but there's also other ways that this protocol does feed the perpetual auctions. And the idea behind that is that we didn't want this to be like too much where we just like picked a number and minted like X amount of tokens to the auctions. Like the initial seed for the auction is just going to be a percentage of what actually gets minted in those first 8 days. which we put a lot of thought into, just wanting to create something that can last a really, really long time, and give people a lot of ways to participate. So, yeah, essentially, like being able to get into the protocol the first 8 days, you can enter in with X28, Titan X, or ETH. The ETH and Titan X inputs, they both convert to X28, burn 50% of the Titan X in the process, and that will get you in. What it does, what the smart contract does, is it'll mint an NFT to the user's wallet, and it'll also mint the corresponding tokens at a 1-to-1 ratio with X28 to the vault, which essentially results in a majority lock supply right out of the gate. Right. So users do have the option to swap back into tokens or burn their NFT to get back into tokens. But there's the Serpent's Due, which is like a vesting schedule built in, which we'll cover in a little bit, which not only disallows people to snipe that 8-day payout, but also gives people an opportunity to hold and actually be able to grow their percentage share of the supply. So it does reward patience in a big way.
Big time. Yeah.
And I think, having you, so to be super clear, when users come in, they're minting NFTs. They are backed by tokens, but you're going to be holding an NFT when you come into Mizuchi.
Yep.
But this is, in my opinion, going to be huge because all of supply is going to be locked in these NFTs. And if users want to swap their NFTs for tokens, they can. But yes, there's the Serpent's Due, which goes back to kind of reinvest into the whole system. I think, the 22% of Mizuchi tokens that are minted is, I think, really, really, this is very bullish in my opinion, because it kind of scales with whatever participation is.
Exactly.
You don't want to try and guess it, and it might be too much or too little. So I think having the 22% is a good amount, and it makes sure that there is fuel starting in those auctions straight away.
Exactly. And, a big point of that too is when the perpetual auctions actually start, we're only using 8% of that balance each day. So we're not introducing a lot of supply all at once. We're not like using like 20 or 30% of that each day. It's just 8%, just to give users a way to compete for ROI and continually bring X28 into the system, which does everything. That helps to feed the rewards pool, that helps to burn the token, that helps to feed Mizuchi's Horde, which are the auctions. There's just we've put so much thought into every little piece of this, and fortunately, we've had the opportunity to learn from a lot of these other protocols that have launched, and in a lot of ways, there's the best parts of everything kind of coming into one here. It's almost like Volt on crack, or like E280 on crack.
Yeah. Yep, and everything is going through to mint X28, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is going to be a huge, just like Smooth with Flare, and I think there's multiple projects now using the same kind of system.
Yep.
All burning so much Titan X. So super bullish on this, and it's going to be a huge contributor, hopefully, to the entire ecosystem, and it's going to be able to burn a lot of Titan X.
Yep, exactly. So during this 8-day supply creation, when you mint an NFT, there's a 24-hour timestamp to when you can actually burn your NFT to claim the tokens, but there's also a vesting period for 28 days. So over those 28 days, you'll actually get more and more of the supply. And what's kind of unique about this too is we're talking about a ratio game, right? So and this is not financial advice, etc., but my speculation is that we'll probably trade at a 2-to-1 ratio during these first 8 days, which is going to make the ROI on the mints pretty hefty. I would say probably around 100%, because people are going to be disincentivized to actually trade it below that ratio. And then the buy and burns obviously working in the background to soak up whatever people are, if somebody's impatient, the buy and burn's always there to soak up whatever's extra. So I think we'll probably trade at a 2-to-1 ratio, which also means that people won't start out underwater with their initial mint. So they'll essentially just be gaining more of a percentage of supply as those tokens unlock over time. And the last thing I'd want to mention is that this is all based on when you mint an NFT. So people that actually mint earlier have a little bit of an advantage. I mean, there's not a rush to get in because there's a full 8 days to actually choose to participate, learn about the project, etc. But it essentially gives the people that mint earlier an earlier unlock date. So the guy that minted on day 1, his tokens will be fully unlocked sooner than the guy that minted on day 8. So there's a little bit of that FOMO burst in there.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll go straight on to the substitute because that might sound complicated to new users coming in, but it really isn't that complicated. So there's the vesting schedule that you just covered. Basically, the longer you wait, the more of your tokens that is able to be claimed. And the setting the floor price at 2x is because if you claim on day 2, you're paying a tax of, is it 55? Yeah, 55%.
Yep.
Basically a tax. And this goes to further fuel the auctions, which is awesome because that means whenever people leave this pool, they're paying a small tax to further fuel the auctions and support the people that are still holding the NFTs. But the reason it'll be at 2-1 is because it doesn't make sense to sell your NFTs if they're underwater. So yeah, it'll probably have the sniper bots will come in, push up the price, and it will come down, but only to that 2-1 ratio because that's the only profitable area that people can sell their NFTs for tokens and then sell their tokens.
Exactly.
But this is huge.
That mana contract.
Yeah, this is huge though, because there are going to be those short-term players that are going to be doing this, but this just goes to further fuel the auctions, further fuel the buy and burn. And now with the added payout pool, it's going to go to further fuel rewards for those NFT holders that are
exactly. Everything feeds into itself. So like the vesting schedule is just more of a way to give longer term holders an incentive to actually hold for a full 28 days. I mean, in crypto, like people's mindsets are generally pretty short, but what we're trying to do is incentivize people to hold for a longer period of time and capture a larger share of what they're owed in terms of what they've actually minted. So what we actually recommend, and this is not financial advice, again, I just have to say that, is setting up a ladder and strategy. So if after the 8 days, if the price skyrockets for some reason, if you have multiple different NFTs and multiple different tiers, well, you don't have to sell your whole bag or sacrifice a portion of your whole bag. You can actually just pick and choose which NFTs and maybe capitalize on some price appreciation that way. So there's a lot of game theory baked in just to the idea of the Serpent's Due and the initial mint. And again, like I said, it's going to probably result in the ROIs being very high for the initial mint phase, which I think is super bullish in my opinion. That's what the idea of ROI is like what gets people involved, and that's really what we wanted to capture here.
One question I would have then, so if obviously you said you are kind of rewarded if you come in sooner, because if you come in mint day 1, it's timestamped from that time 28 days later. And then obviously if you enter day 8, you have to wait 28 days from day 8.
Correct.
But if someone came in and they swapped their Mizuchi tokens for an NFT, is the Serpent's Due still apply to that?
Yes, and that's after day 8, right? So I wanted to really differentiate the idea of the supply creation phase versus the ongoing mints for these NFTs, right? So essentially what we changed are 2 big things. We added in the reward structure, which pays out rewards to NFT holders every 8 days. And previously we had a swap logic, so you could swap your NFTs for tokens or your tokens for NFTs. But what we did is we changed it to being a burn to claim feature. So you would burn your NFTs to get the token back in, or you can take Mizuchi tokens and actually remint or summon new NFTs after day 8. So this way it gave users more opportunities to actually recompound their rewards. So on if they're collecting rewards every 8 days, say if they got 500 million Mizuchi tokens, well then they can go mint NFT that's worth 500 million Mizuchi tokens and actually capture a larger share of that rewards pool.
Yep. It's a really interesting way to compound your bag because obviously if you're holding a cap supply that's deflationary, your bag's already growing, but this is just a way to expand that even more. If you're a diamond hands, yes, you will have to wait the 28 days to make sure that you get pretty much majority of the bag back, but it adds in a whole new logic of receiving even more tokens to build up even more.
Exactly. Yeah. So the idea is to reward long-term holders. I mean, that's the best thing that you can do for your holders in crypto is give them a reason to actually hold, right? And these NFTs certainly give you a reason to hold. And in the meantime, it keeps a lot of supply off of the market. So when the buy and burn is working, it can actually add real, true programmatic buy pressure to the protocol and help to push up the price. So the price goes up, it's going to take more X28 to fill those auctions, and that's more X28 to fuel the fire.
100%, yeah. Smooth. How do you feel about Mizuchi as a whole? How do you feel about their tokenomics? What are you thinking?
I think it's really good. I mean, at the end of the day, having all the token creation being held by NFTs just supports and, could add even more of a long-term view for the investor. And, it's kind of like an easy button to get in, right? You don't have to manage all these tokens and all this stuff. You just get in, get an NFT or multiple NFTs and just do it that way. So I really like it. And, the Serpent's Due definitely adds a nice delayed kind of like reward, like rewarding these users in a way that kind of we haven't really been done before, right? It's a nice, like, I don't know, it's super fair for people who believe and the long-term aspect of Mizuchi NFTs. So I really like it. And one question I have is the wormhole, the way you spelled it, because of World of Warcraft? I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah, it's actually, so I'm not a big World of Warcraft guy, but in terms of like the dragon lore, like the Wormflight's like a dragon army, so that's where that idea came from, is the wormhole. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I never really played, but definitely heard some of my buddies saying that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's like a portal kind of type of situation. So yeah, I just like that though.
Yeah, we wanted to incorporate. I mean, I think staying true to like the idea behind Titan X is like largely dragon centric, and we brought in this idea of this water dragon because of like the idea of liquidity and just the like there was something I've said this on other streams before, but there's something that Steve DeFi said. It's like DeFi is like water, and water always finds a way to kind of trickle into place. And that was the intention behind this project, is just to like let the users determine where this goes.
Yep. I like that. Yeah. It's including in plumbing and stuff like that. Water is always going to find a way out if there is a way out. So I like that analogy.
I think about that a lot too.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe let's back it up a little bit. Let's go to the LP formation, the buy and burn, and then we can talk about the wormhole a little bit. So essentially what's going to happen here is this is set up very similarly to Shogun. So we wanted to create two main liquidity pools. The main liquidity pool is the X28 pair, and that's where all the buy and burn power is getting routed through. But we also wanted to have a Titan X pair to allow for more seamless trade-in. So those pairs run parallel. In addition, we also have a Legend X pair, kind of tying into the Dragon lore and the hybrid NFT idea. So we'll be creating a Mizuchi Legend X pair that's more of like what's the word for it? I don't know what the word is, but yeah, so it's basically like a third pair just to help support Legend X. And yeah, so all of the, as far as the distribution for what comes in, 88% of all the X28 goes to the buy, burn, and fuel. 4% gets sent to the Legend X buy and burn, and then 8% no expectations. And what's really neat is that we kind of tried to handle the fees in like a little bit more of an intuitive way. So all of the Mizuchi from the X28 the X28 Mizuchi pair is going to get sent to Mizuchi's Horde to help support the auctions. And all of the X28 is going to get sent back to the buy, burn, and fuel contract to help fuel the system. The other two pairs will just be compounding fees forever. We wanted to do that just to allow for just like a natural growth of liquidity. So yeah, we put a lot of thought into how to set this up. But like I said, it's very similar to Shogun.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is probably some of the biggest LP formations that we've seen kind of in the system, but it makes a lot of sense because most likely this is going to be majority of the liquid supply for a while. In my opinion, I think most people aren't going to want to. With Matrix, we saw quite a few people leave the patient incentive pool, but if you are leaving, there's going to be a few short-term players who can take profit. But if you are selling your NFT, you are losing to the Serpent's Stew. So it just makes more sense to wait. And I mean, that's what you want. You want long-term believers to be in the project.
Exactly.
Yeah, but this is kind of why, is that kind of the thought process of why this is quite a large starting initial RP? Yeah.
Exactly. Because most of the supply is going to be majority locked right off the onset. And I think with this setup, like it allows for easier price discovery. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. Obviously, you know, in the first days, like we recommend minting and not trying to buy on the market. Granted, there are going to be degens trying to probably push the price up, but like I said, if even if the price gets pushed up and then comes down when supply starts entering the market, that I think that 2-to-1 ratio is the sweet spot, which is going to actually, I think, encourage a lot of people to want to participate, knowing that, you know, if they hold on for the full 28 days, they'll get all of the Mizuchi tokens back and they don't start out underwater. Right. So it's going to be interesting. That's just my speculation again, but.
And yeah, in theory, it makes sense because why would you want to exit your NFT, sell your tokens for a loss when you could just wait, hold, increase your bag size and wait for that 88% buy burn to just slowly bring up the price? Extremely bullish.
Yeah,
that's one of the key selling points of this is the 88% buy burn and fuel, because all of the supply, or a large majority of the supply, is going to be locked in these NFTs. So liquid supply is going to be very, very small, and you're just injecting buy pressure, and that's what controls what the price is. So the whole setup, I think, is super bullish. It's taking all the good aspects from the ecosystem of locking up tokens, aggressive buy and burns, caps, deflationary, everything, all into one. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how this works, and we already know this. Last stream, we went for it. It's a super bullish project, even more bullish now. Should we cover the buy and burn and fuel?
Yeah,
is there anything else you want to mention for the LP formation?
That's pretty much it. Like I said, it's just a similar setup to Shogun, allowing for seamless trade-in, no taxes, etc. Pretty straightforward. So yeah, the 88% buy and burn and fuel, we made a couple adjustments here. So 20% of all of the X28 that comes in and buys the token through this mechanism is going to be sent to the Mizuchi payout pool. And what's unique about this is that the rewards are paid through buy pressure and not through like a tax system or something, in my opinion. So I really like this idea of adding buy pressure to the protocol. And if people aren't selling their rewards, then that's just essentially locked supply on the other side. Or if they're taking and recompounding it, that's also locked supply. If they're taking and selling their rewards, well, that's great. And maybe they're holding on to their NFT and they're just selling their rewards, but you're minimizing the sell pressure in a very large way. So yeah, 20% are sent to the payout pool. 20% is burned. So adding in that deflationary aspect, 50% is sent to Mizuchi's Horde. And we kept this number pretty big because this is the whole fuel that keeps the project going. We want people to participate in the auctions. You don't necessarily need the market buy to participate, where you can actually potentially get an ROI on the auction, and from there participate in the NFTs. So yeah, that in my opinion was like really important to keep that number high. And then probably one of the more important aspects is 10% is used to add to that secondary Mizuchi Titan X liquidity pool. So what this will do, what we ended up doing is actually creating and kind of innovating the buy and burn further. And we created a liquidity injection contract. So this X28 gets sent to this liquidity injection contract, and users can trigger it, get a reward. And what it'll do is they'll buy 50% Titan X, 50% Mizuchi, pair it together and add it to the liquidity pool. So that's going to be constantly working and making that Titan X liquidity pool very thick. And on the back end, you have the X28 buy and burns actually bolstering the X28 pair. So there's a couple different dynamics working there, but we really wanted to be able to build liquidity in a natural manner that grows with the project.
And I don't think we've seen that before, really. I think
No.
most ways that the liquidity has been provided is just through like multi-sig wallets. But this is very interesting. So the X28 is going to be sold into Titan X 50%, and 50% is going to go by Mizuchi, and that's going to go to form probably the biggest LP, which is going to be Mizuchi Titan X.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're routing everything through X28 to get the burn power on Titan X, and then the idea of having that Titan X pair is to allow for seamless trading, right? If somebody, the Uniswap router doesn't really like the X28 pairs yet, so we're trying to create a way for people to, like, if they have ETH, they can just swap into Mizuchi and it'll automatically route through Titan X. So it kind of eliminates a step. So that'll be very interesting. And actually, Cryptographics has a really great question. Do you mind pulling that up?
This one.
So for the early stages of the protocol, the buy, burn, and fuel daily utilization rate may be adjustable from 3 to 20%. Can you clarify what this parameter is and when it can't be adjusted? So essentially, the buy and burn can never get turned off. And the logic behind this adjustment is to allow some flexibility and find an equilibrium between the buy and burn utilization and the daily auction utilization. We want to make sure that there's always enough tokens going into the auctions to fuel the project. And if we notice that the auction pool is depleting quickly, we can just make some adjustments on the fly. And this is just because, like with DeFi, like you don't really know what things are going to look like until you actually get participation. And if we have the ability on our end to change it just a little bit, just to balance things out and find an equilibrium, I think that's going to be the best. I mean, at some point, like we can renounce those keys and just fix it, but we didn't just want to like choose a number and be like, okay, this is good. Like we wanted to make sure that we had some flexibility in how that's being adjusted. So the buy and burn can't get turned off. It's triggered 288 times a day, every 5 minutes, but that number can be adjusted in accordance with the what's being used in the auctions on a daily basis to find an equilibrium to make sure that this project can continue and that there's always tokens that are auctionable.
Almost like a safety net, just in case.
Exactly.
Like we always renounce it in the future. Yeah,
exactly. Like we've ran some simulations on how long this could potentially last, and like the 16% buy and burn utilization with 50% of that going back into the auctions, it should be equal right off the bat. But we just wanted to allow ourselves a little bit of flexibility to, make sure that like we can make these auctions last as long as possible to continue to bring in X28 into the project.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think you want it to obviously have that sustainable nature, but most of the auction-based projects need some kind of external factor that's adding more fuel to it, because just doing the percentages doesn't always correlate, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but because you guys have the serpent's due, that's the extra fuel that's going to be injected into it.
Exactly,
that gives the longevity to the project.
And something I should mention.
You scroll down a little bit so the diagram is shown.
Yeah,
please.
Something that I should mention, even with the serpent's due, is like we do have a few admin keys in this project to make sure that it lasts as long as possible. Like we want to just choose numbers and choose things and just it to be like pure as possible. But we also wanted to allow ourselves some flexibility. So with the serpent's due, we actually have a 3-way toggle switch, and we can handle this by community vote. But essentially, like the forfeits from the serpent's due by default get sent to Mizuchi's Hoard for the auctions. But we also have two other options where those forfeits could either be sent to the rewards pool or they could just be burned. Mm-hmm. Which nice. all three options are extremely bullish in my opinion. But again, we want to be able to have some push-pull factors to make sure that we're creating the most optimized and sustainable protocol possible. And obviously, we'll do this with the support of the community and wanting to understand what they're wanting as well.
Yeah. Just whilst we're on the topic, is there any other things that you can alter?
Essentially, just the buy, burn, and fuel utilization on a daily basis. The auction percentage utilized on a daily basis. Right now, it's set to 16% for the buy, burn, and fuel, 8% for the auctions. And we thought that would be a really great number to start out with. It's really aggressive on the buy and burns. as well as, just using just enough tokens to bring in more fuel into the fire. And I'm sorry. I got kind of sidetracked in my mind.
Any of the things that can be changed or tweaked?
Yeah, so those two factors, and then the three-way toggle switch, like I was just talking about, and that's pretty much it. Like that is it, actually. Those are the three things that I thought were the most important things that we have at least some control over.
Yeah,
Initially,
nice. Yeah. And I think, just going back to this reward structure, I think this is huge. I think you could kind of view it as the T rank that we saw in Titan X, but the T rank was adding additional inflation. This is adding 0 inflation to the protocol. It's only using tokens that are brought off market to reward the long-term believers, which I think is going to be huge. I think 20% is a good number. I think Matrix has it set about 5%. But I think, having the larger percentage just really encourages people to swap their Mizuchi tokens to NFTs to grow their bags.
Exactly. Yeah, and Cryptographics just said sick. I did the same thing for Taurus. I feel like this kind of parameter is so needed to make things work properly initially. Need a benevolent hand, in my opinion, early on, and then later move to full decentralization. And I totally agree with that. As cool as it is just to pick numbers and go with it, like these things have like such a human element built into them that, having some control on the back end, like we don't want to look at this like some months from now and be like, shit, I wish I did that, or I wish I did that. Everything's been really well thought out, and like the bones of the game theory is just so correct. It's just a matter of like those little percentages make a big difference.
I think one thing that Steve always says to me is it's all an experiment. And that's what he said when he was launching Vault. He was like, this is just all an experiment. And it really is. All of this is kind of being done for the first time or being tweaks from previous projects that are all still very, very new. So having the factor to tweak things, obviously only in the best possible way for the project's longevity, is, I think, a very good selling point for people coming in as well. Because if there are things that need to be tweaked, they can be. But like you said, hopefully nothing needs to be. Everything's been thought out really thoroughly by you guys. And it looks, super thorough as well.
So. Like I don't want to be stuck in a position where a couple months from now we're looking at this and being like, oh, we need to like build helper protocols to like try to make it work as intended. Like I want this to operate on its own solely. And in the future, any other protocols that we do, say like we do take Mizuchi Omnichain and we launch other iterations of Mizuchi on different chains, like we can have things that feed back into the main project, but that only helps to enhance it. We're not trying to fix a problem.
100%. And that's the beauty of Mizuchi as well, because you guys probably could take it over to base, take it over to post chain quite easily.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it right now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exciting.
I'll add that you can't turn it off either. So it's only a adjustment. You can't on off. That's not possible. So I like that. And, if there is some type of human element, the on off switch, no one kind of likes that. So just an adjustment switch is, in my opinion, fine.
Yeah, I agree. Just having some control, I think, is important. And, I've seen a lot of protocols run and go, and, I've learned a lot this year. And just I'm trying to put some backstops in the right places to make sure that this can last as long as possible.
I kind of see it like tuning a carburetor.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
It's a great way to look at it too. Yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
I mean, that's what we want to do. I mean, the thought process, to reiterate what Rudy's saying, is that the time since Titan X launched to where we are today in this moment, we reflected on all the efforts and the amazing work that's been accomplished within our ecosystem. And in part of what we're doing with the design and Rudy's efforts and everything else is a way to give this, the beauty of Titan X back to the people that participate, because it's coming to you basically for free. In a sense, you're getting rewarded for being a part of this community through this protocol.
Yep. It has a little bit of everything. And man, like when I talk about going for like the top charts on Titan X, like I'm really gunning for it with this project.
Yeah.
We thought it through very, very hard, and it's something that we really think the community deserves as well.
100, yeah. And the mechanic of going through X28, Smooth, when I've spoke to him before all about Flare, It's very similar because you guys are going to be burning so much Titan X. You guys are going to get really high up, supporting the whole community on just burning and
exactly.
supporting everyone.
A lot of net positives here, my
It's
man.
a lot. Yeah. I mean, you guys are what, 88% going into X28?
Yeah.
That's a ton.
Well, actually, 100% goes into X28. And then 88% goes to feed the buy, burn, and fuel. The other 8% is no expectations. But yeah, 100% of what comes in gets, unless somebody participates with X28. But the liquid supply of X28 is so minuscule right now. I expect that most people will probably participate with Titan X or potentially ETH, right?
Yep.
But I think it's good to just have those options there. You guys do have both LPs. Like at the moment, most users are in Titan X, so they can easily transfer between. But there's still going to be that big LP there with X28 as well for when that probably becomes even more popular than Titan X is at the moment with more users over time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think this might be a bigger burn. So if you're 100% of it is going through X28, Smooth, you're 38%. It might be
minuscule.
You had the top spot for a while.
Hey, it's all right.
That's all right. Like when Jake brought up the idea of X28, like it forced us to, like, we were originally just planning on being like a core Titan X project. And when he brought up the idea of X28, I was like, you know what? Let's make an easy button for this, because a lot of people, if they start to go in and read, well, they're going to, you know, whether they're on Titan X or they're outside of the ecosystem, like we just wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to get involved and to handle those clicks in one switch. You know, like even Jake said it himself. He wished he did that with Shogun. And, you know, in my opinion, it just makes it so much easier for users.
Yep. I definitely agree. Is there anything else you guys want to cover in the 88% buy, burn, and fuel section?
Yeah, so just during the first 8 days, it's we're only going to be using 8% of the total buy, burn, and fuel balance each day. Okay. And that's because most of the supply is locked. Like we don't have to try to soak up excess supply from like extra auctions or something. And then from day 9 onwards, 16% will be used each day. And that number again is adjustable, but we figured that the 16% buy and burn utilization on a daily basis, coupled with an 8% auction utilization on a daily basis, was a really good way to balance those out.
100%, yeah. And I think that is good because a lot of protocols have these extremely high percentages into the buy burn, which is good, super aggressive, but you guys don't necessarily need it because the liquid supply is going to be so small. Even having 16%, I think, is going to do a lot to the price, and it's going to give that more of the longevity kind of nature to it.
Exactly. Yeah, we want this to last as long as humanly possible.
Yeah. So you said there were a couple of changes to the wormhole, is that correct? So
yes. Yep. So initially we had like this idea of being able to swap your NFTs for tokens and vice versa, and this really works the same way. However, because there's that in and out factor, so like if you miss the first 8 days, like you can still get into NFTs, but you're going to be paying the market price in terms of Mizuchi. So essentially, if you want to get the Mizuchi token back in for your NFT, you're going to burn your NFT and claim the Mizuchi, right? Very simple. This is set up very similar to E280. But on the other hand, you can also get into NFTs via summoning new NFTs. So you can mint new NFTs, but at this point, after day 8, the primary input becomes the Mizuchi token. So you can take your Mizuchi rewards and you can actually go mint or summon new NFTs on whatever level. You know, there's 8 different tiers, however many rewards that you can have. And it allows a compounding strategy to be able to get a larger share of that rewards pool. And with this, again, the main token input for summoning is Mizuchi, but we added in that easy button again, where somebody could get in with X28, Titan X, or ETH, which all routes through and buys Mizuchi off the market and will lock that Mizuchi into the hybrid NFT so that they're able to be a part of that 8-day rewards pool.
I'm guessing it would be a little bit more expensive as well if they were to enter with ETH or Titan X, just because they have to cover all their gap. Yeah.
But if you think about it, you know, if they had to do these swaps individually, it's probably about the same price, you
Yeah.
know, in terms of gas. So like, granted, like if you already have Titan X, like you're not going to swap back into ETH to do this. Like you're going to go through Titan X. So it's kind of laddered to like, all right, the least expensive gas option is definitely Mizuchi. However, you know, we have these other options which will buy Mizuchi off the market and lock it in the NFT so that they're able to get into the rewards pool.
So
So
does
it
it
just
buy?
allows that flexibility and that easy button to be able to participate.
Yeah. Does it buy Mizuchi off market instantly as soon as users entered in, let's say with X28?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So
Okay,
it'll
nice.
buy it directly and mint the NFT to the user's wallet and send the tokens to the wormhole and get locked.
Yep. So even if a new user maybe in Titan X comes into the system, they're like, right, I want this NFT so I can have even more. They don't even need to buy off market. It just automatically applies 100% buy pressure to Mizuchi token, which is going to
Exactly.
be, this is awesome. And I
Yes.
think having the ETH there as well is huge because
Yeah. You know, like we want to attract an outside user base. So, you know, if somebody wants to participate with ETH, well, they can do their Titan X to X28 to Mizuchi swap like seamlessly, pretty easily. So yeah, that we put a lot of thought in as well.
nice. Yeah. And then is there anything else you guys want to cover quickly about the wormhole, do you think?
I think that's pretty much it. Any new summons are all subject to the servant's due, and the reason that we did that was to prevent last-minute sniping of the rewards pool. So those users it's the same exact schedule. Those users will need to wait at least 24 hours until they're able to claim their token back in, and it starts off at 45% available to the user, then 2% daily after that. So it's a similar setup, but again, that's just mostly to avoid last minute sniping of the rewards pool. And if they want to take the rewards and forfeit a large majority of the Mizuchi tokens on the back end, fine. Like, you know, that's all going to go to actually fuel the protocol even further.
Yep.
No, I really, really like it because it's literally saying, okay, only the people, the long-term believers of this protocol are the ones that can have access to this rewards pool. It's not like you can just jump in. You have to hold for a certain amount of time if you want to get all your tokens back and earn the rewards on top of it. So it's kind of like a very unique, limited kind of rewards pool where I think only, the super long-term believers are going to benefit.
Yeah, definitely. And
There's
just
nothing
to
complex about it either. I mean, there's really nothing complex about it.
No.
I mean, if you think about it, it's very, very cut and dry. It's a great avenue.
100%. Yeah. This edition, I think, is massive because before that, you could say there wasn't as much of an incentive to really be holding these NFTs. Obviously, you'd want to sell them for when you want to exit, but now there's a reason to get back into the protocol and to build up a bag even more because you are just literally building your bag of Mizuchi tokens just by holding this NFT.
Yep.
One click. One click.
Absolutely.
So should we go over I mean, we've covered the perpetual daily auctions in quite a lot of depth, but is there anything do you think we've missed?
Yeah, so people can participate in the daily auctions with X28, Titan X, or ETH. And that all gets converted to X28, which continually it's a perpetual burner on Titan X, which I should add. You know, this isn't just like a one-time thing just during the first 8 days. Like as people are participating with Titan X or ETH, it's going to continually burn Titan X in that process. So I think that's really important to mention. 8% of the tokens in Mizuchi's hoard are going to be used for auction each day from day 9 onward. So that we put a lot of thought into just that percentage, and that can be adjustable, but we figured that was a good place to start. And one thing so the tokens are all claimable at the start of the next day, similar to Volt. But we also took a page from Mike Dean's book with Matrix, where if you entered into the auction in the last hour, you have to wait a full hour to actually be able to claim those tokens. So if there's an ROI there, we really would like it to go to holders instead of like a bot just entering last minute and instant dumping the ROI. Yeah, so it's set up similar to Vote, but there is that 1 hour lag. And something important to note there is that if you have multiple auction entries throughout the day, and if your last one is within that last hour, like you will have to, it's just the way that the smart contracts work, but you will have to wait an additional hour to be able to claim your tokens. And it's very outlined clearly on the D app. So there won't be any question there.
Nice. Yeah. And I see there is a 4% allocation to the Legend X buy and burn, which is awesome. Do you want to shield Legend X quickly? Because when you told me last time the stats on it, I was blown away.
Yeah. Legend X is like my OG project on Titan X. Like we were one of the first, like we launched the same day as Dragon X, and it's a hybrid NFT protocol, which uses some of the similar mechanics. Like I would look at Mizuchi as the big daddy at this point. But with Legend X right now, 72% of the total supply is locked in the NFTs. So like this concept certainly does work to help lock up supply. And what Legend X really needs is, as actually Dave from Awesome X said, it's adding like an engine to Legend X. So 4% on a daily basis based on all of these auctions, like we're going to continually have buy pressure on a majority lock supply in Legend X as well.
Which is huge because
It's huge,
Legend X is going to have a very similar kind of allocation of its supply to Mizuchi with very small liquid, and it's going to be rewarded by the success of Mizuchi by this allocation, which is just going to be buying it off market, and hopefully they're going to move kind of in synergy together.
I would love to see that. Yeah. So there's definitely some synergies there. And again, just playing into the dragon lore and everything, these things tie in really well together.
100%. Yeah. So should we get on to the payouts? We've kind of gone over it, but there's a lot more detail. Do you want to kind of dive into this?
Yeah, dude. So the payout pool, the first payout is on day 16. So that's 8 days after the supply creation phase ends. And like 12 days before tokens are fully vested, theoretically. So this payout pool is fueled by the buy, burn, and fuel, which buys Mizuchi off the market and redistributes it to the NFT holders. So these rewards compound, or they accumulate, I should say, each cycle. So there's no rush to actually go and claim those rewards. You can just let those rewards build up. Or like the alpha strategy is to take those rewards and go mint new NFTs with the Mizuchi to get a bigger share of the rewards pool on the next cycle. So the multipliers are set up very similar to E280, where they're set up proportionally to how much Mizuchi each NFT is actually worth. So the lowest multiplier is at 10x and the highest multiplier is at 15,000x.
Nice.
Yeah. So basically, if you have a higher tier NFT, like you're going to get a higher multiplier of that rewards pool. And all this stuff is very clearly outlined in the D app, like in the stats page. Like you'll be able to go in and see what the total multiplier, the total global multiplier is, and be able to kind of figure out like what your actual percentage of the rewards pool is on a 8-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think any other project has done this, but if you're a long-term believer in the project, you can literally upgrade your NFTs to gain even more tokens. You can't do that anyway. You can set an allocation to this project and never need to add to it because it's just always going to be adding additional Mizuchi tokens. And then you can even upgrade your NFT even further to then get an even bigger multiplier.
Exactly. Like it's pretty crazy because like since the buy and burn is working, like your percentage of the supply is growing. And since this is working and rewarding holders like in a more front-facing manner, your supply is growing. And then you also have the compounding strategy, which allows you to even get a bigger share of the rewards pool and to actually grow your holdings even more. So the whole idea behind Mizuchi is to keep a majority lock supply and have that buy and burn always add in perpetual programmatic buy pressure to the protocol. And as long as the auctions are running, like we're always going to be getting more X28 into the system.
100%. I think one question I would have is, so every 8 days it's paid out. Is that 100% of the 20% allocation from the buy and burn? It's paid out every day. Okay. So it just builds up over the 8 days. And then after 8 days, 100% of it is distributed to everyone.
Exactly.
All the NFT holders. Nice.
8 days, you get your cut. Bang.
Nice. Yeah, I think this is an awesome addition. Ted, how did you kind of feel when Rudy, you said you thought of it on a drive, which actually happened to me with, I mean, it's weird how these ideas come to you, isn't it? Where you're just doing random stuff.
If I get a random call from Rudy, I better sit down. That's all I can say. No, it's great. Very educational. And the mindset amongst the Mizuchi team has always been the community. The mechanics are really, truthfully, very well designed. Rudy did a great job, and we've been working very, very hard, communicating back and forth at all hours, literally, just bringing this all together. And it's just really, it's ready. It's getting to the point where get some audits done, and more auditing is still underway. But yeah, it's pretty spectacular. And just I want to reiterate the fact that it is something by design that when you come in, you could literally just stay in. You could just stay here and you could benefit from it. And it'd be a place to go knowing that there could be a reward that's ready for you. It's just there.
100%. Yeah.
And it's very simple. Very, very simple.
You could just
Very
have an
simple.
NFT, set it to the side, come back, and your bag could have literally doubled.
Yep.
Like it is awesome.
Yep.
And actually, Cryptographics has another really good question. I appreciate you, man, for chiming in. I'm really bullish on Taurus, by the way. Just I thought I'd mention that. But
Indeed.
those first few cycles will probably be the largest. It's very likely. However, like I said, there is a 3-way toggle switch with the Serpent's Due. So if we notice that the rewards need to get bolstered a little bit, we can actually switch the Serpent's Due to actually send those forfeited tokens to fuel the rewards pool. So there was certainly some thought behind that as well. And we'll be monitoring that and taking community feedback to make that decision.
Right.
I think it's a really good point, because I think this is going to make launch even more successful, because you only have the first payout after 16 days. So that balance is, the reward balance is really going to build up for 16 days, which is going to really incentivize people not to leave the NFTs, which means for that whole launch phase, I think why would you want to leave, get out, pay a higher tax for the Serpent's Due and miss out on having even more tokens added to your bag?
Yeah,
so I think
the timing's really interesting. 16 days is when the first rewards payout is, and then at day 28 is when the first full unlocks come for the Serpent's Due vesting period. So yeah, it adds a really interesting dynamic. Obviously, that first 16-day payout is going to probably be the biggest one, because we have all of that time to accumulate, especially with the first minted supply. But after that, like I said, like if we notice that the rewards pool needs to get bolstered a little bit, like we can take some community feedback, switch the toggle to actually fuel the forfeits back into the rewards pool, and keep that going in a perpetual manner as well.
Right.
And just quickly for the audits, you guys said, is one being done currently?
So we got through our first audit. That's done, which went really well. There's a lot of good feedback there. We were able to, it was mostly just minor, like little informational things that needed to get changed. A couple little smaller things, but nothing crazy. And they ran an independent testing phase as well, which was good. So the second audit is actually underway at the moment. And they're running testing as well on the contracts. And for guys that don't know, not every audit includes testing. So there's going to be 2 independent testing phases done by 2 different independent audit companies. And
you're referring to the fuzz test, right, Rudy? The fuzz testing?
Well, there's that, and there's like the actual like testing environment that they're setting up.
And,
so
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the second audit's in process. As far as when launch, we're looking at early to mid-February right now. There's so much work to do on the front end of this project. So we're just wanting to make this as easy for the user as possible. So we've just been putting a lot of thought into like the flow of the front end. So that's really what we're working on right now, is finalizing the front end and the second audit, all of which is going really well.
Yep, I'm excited to see the front end for sure, because just from the teasers that you guys have done and the art that you guys have produced already, I think, yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And that brings me on to, yeah, so far, I think I'm very looking forward to that, seeing that DAP. But also, I've seen the Flare DAP, and it is awesome. It is awesome.
So
You guys,
good.
It is.
and obviously, Flare. So, yeah, Smooth. Talk us through Flare. Is it in its second audit as well currently, right?
Yeah, so we just started our second audit a couple days ago. First audit came back with very minimal, minor things that have already been fixed. So overall, I think the second audit, we haven't heard anything back yet, which is a really good thing in my opinion, because they're going to let us know when they find things as they find things. So, going the first 3 days of the audit with no response, I love that,
Yeah. Right.
So the second audit is underway. Should be done anytime soon, 3-4 days or whatever. Still looking late January, early February. So
Nice.
I'm just gassed. I, want to release this very badly. So
bullish for Titan X that
Yeah, dude.
both Mizuchi and Flare both on the way, and you guys are going to be burning so much Titan X.
Yes,
so
dude.
much. I think you guys could be potentially a catalyst to really turn this downtrend, or be launching at a good time for when the market starts pumping again, because we have so much coming for Titan X in such a short amount of time as well. Both of these projects are coming into their second audits, almost done, almost ready to launch. Yep. So super excited time to be in Titan X.
Yes, dude.
I'm pumped. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I mean, let's just say that we don't release these projects in a amazing green candle Titan X ecosystem, right? One thing we're gonna do is create a nice low point to where when that starts kicking up, our LPs are just going to be even more bullish, in my opinion. So I'm okay with releasing on more of red side, green side, yellow side, whatever you want to call. I don't really care, to be honest.
Definitely. Yeah. It's watching what's happening in Titan X right now too. It's things are going to flip bullish very quickly. And I think quicker than people realize. It's going to be something where I could see people chasing some serious green candles with Titan X. And like you said, with the LPs, all of the LPs that are paired with Titan X or X28 are going to get bolstered so heavily. I mean, we saw this happen with Baby Dragon X, with Dragon X on that big run up. Baby Dragon X launched at a low point, and now they have $500,000 in liquidity on I think they're like a 1.5 million market cap or something. We're going to be seeing a lot more of that across the ecosystem. I've been really bullish on that since day one with all the BOT stuff.
100%. And going to base soon as well. And both these projects, both Flare and Mizuchi, can pretty much be recreated. Like you said, Rudy, maybe with some small tweaks if there's anything that you see after launch, but they can pretty much be recreated on any chain. So if they're hyper successful, they can just be moved onto base, onto post chain potentially. And the whole flywheel kicks off there as well. So I'm so bullish. There is not enough Titan X compared to what we have going on here.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Just that idea of being able to take these projects and put them on other chains. Well, users are going to want to see the past results to predict future results. And I think looking at these charts, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, if this did really good on ETH, it could do really good on base or pulse chain or whatever.
100%. And I think communities in base and in post chain, they are not seeing the tokenomics and what we are building in Titan X is never been done before. I think we spoke a lot about this last stream, Rudy, but it's if someone had produced one of these projects like Vault, a few months ago outside of Titan X, it would have just blown away. And that's just one project. And we have 30 plus and even more coming out. So many people working behind the scenes. So many projects that just spring up, like Bonfire, that's going to be launching literally in 4 days, which brings the innovation happening here is insane. And I think going to new chains, especially when what we have, in my opinion, is better than everything else, is going to be so bullish.
Yep.
Hey, I gotta throw a shout out real quick to West Virginia University. They're watching us right now.
Nice.
Oh,
Shout out.
Mountaineers.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we've been going for an hour, and I think we've covered pretty much everything Mizuchi-wise in quite a lot of detail. Is there any so you said launch could be soon-ish after this audit. Is there any set times you are looking for, maybe numerology-wise?
We're looking for mid-February, probably early to mid-February. There's a couple of reasons behind that. But yeah, so well, once everything's done is when I'd like to make an announcement. I don't like to make an announcement like previous to things being actually like totally 100% complete and soundproof. So yeah,
potentially only a month away.
it's only a month.
Bullish.
It's only a month, and I think that's like a really good time for Titan X. Like we're coming out of a downtrend right now, and when things start to flip bullish, is like we saw the craze behind Volt, like in what that did. Like that's the similar effect that I'd like to see happen when we're launching.
Yeah, and Smooth, similar for your situation with Flare. Do you think?
Yeah,
February?
I think late January, early February. I'll keep kind of saying that. I mean, at the worst case scenario, mid February.
Nice.
You know, I think it'll be ready. You know, it's waiting for one, Titan X macro, two, what projects are releasing, where can I fit in that release schedule, because you don't want it to be too close to something and you don't want to release too close before something. So it's like you want at least a good 3, 4, or 5 days of a space like in between there, you know. So
I agree.
It's to be seen, and you know, Mike Dean's going to have the website just having the launch dates and everything soon, and that guy's super busy. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, sooner rather than later, in my opinion.
How crazy is it though that you literally have to think about that is slotting your project launch in between them? Like there's so much going on that you actually have to kind of think about that, which is insane. Yeah,
I think it's a big part of the December, Christmas time, New Year's time added those couple extra weeks to everybody. So now everybody's like late January, early February, mid February, like multiple projects. So I think we're kind of all, you know, exposed to that type of schedule.
100%. Yeah. I mean, yeah, great stream, guys. Is there any final message, Ted, that you want to leave everyone?
Thanks for tuning in. Let's fucking go, man. Win. Let's do it. Come on, bitches, let's go.
Rudy, any final message for everyone?
Stay bullish, guys. I mean, we're heading into a very intense and unheard of macro situation right now. I'm just watching the news and just staying on top of like what's happening out there, and we've never seen this before in crypto. This is like the first time ever where we're not being outed for being involved in decentralized finance. Like I think that the world is going to embrace a bankless nature sooner than we can realize, and it's going to allow for a lot of opportunities. And as a builder, I'm really, really excited about that.
100%. Smooth, any final message?
Yeah, so Flare on the way, soon to be. I'm really excited. It's going to be so bullish. I think, you know, mixing the auto minting of X28 is such a underrated, not talked about enough aspect to both of these projects that we discussed today. Other than that, you know, let's have a good, you know, Trump pump, and let's, you know, get to the money.
100%.
Good, baby. Let's go.
100%. Yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate it.